Hello, everybody, and welcome to Narativ. I'm Shalev. Tomorrow, 25 major names in crypto will gather at the White House for a summit focused on establishing a crypto reserve for America. Since Donald Trump's election on November the 5th, cryptocurrency has surged, peaking at over $100,000 a Bitcoin, and primarily benefiting a select few Bitcoin holders, many of whom have ties to Donald Trump. At Narativ, our investigation into what we call the crypto conspiracy has revealed three significant pump and dump operations that have enriched insiders like Elon Musk and David Sachs and Donald Trump himself. The first pump and dump occurred on December the 5th. While many of us were distracted by the assassination of the UnitedHealth CEO, Donald Trump announced some staggering pro-cryptocurrency regulations, and he appointed David Sachs as his crypto czar and Paul Atkins as the chair of the SEC. Those moves allowed Bitcoin to surge from $70,000 a Bitcoin to $108,000 a Bitcoin. The price later dropped to $85,000, but many insiders were able to cash in and make a profit before that drop. Elon Musk's companies, Tesla and SpaceX, gained a staggering $1.3 billion as crypto surged because they have a lot of Bitcoin on their balance sheets. The second pump and dump cycle occurred just before the inauguration with the launch of the Trump coin and the Melania meme coins. In that case, just 31 traders made $675 million collectively, while over 800,000 investors lost a collective $2 billion. Just think about that ratio. It's a staggering ratio of 1 to 25,000 in terms of winners and losers when it comes to cryptocurrency. And the one person who did cash in, of course, was Donald Trump, who reportedly earned over $100 million just for the trading fees alone of his and Melania's meme coin. Then on March 2nd, last Sunday, was the third pump and dump operation. This time, Trump announced on Truth Social that a U.S. crypto strategic reserve was a go. The price of Bitcoin shot up to $95,000 a Bitcoin. But it didn't take long for investors to realize that the announcement was just a promotion for the summit, which is happening at the White House tomorrow, and not a green light for the cryptocurrency reserve as a whole. So the price went down. But that is a classic pump and dump operation. And while we're all spending a lot of time thinking about the alignment between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, it's worth noting that Putin has repositioned Russia in the crypto world. He recently legalized crypto mining, and he's also making international payments via cryptocurrency in order to avoid Western sanctions. Many people, including my guest tonight, argue that the focus shouldn't be on deregulating cryptocurrency, which he calls a government handout. Rather, he says, the focus should be on potential criminal activity in the White House, where market manipulation enriches a few, while others are left with empty Bitcoin wallets. So tonight we're joined by Peter Schiff, a renowned economist, financial commentator, and CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. Peter has been a vocal critic of cryptocurrencies for years and recently called the proposed U.S. crypto strategic reserve the biggest crypto rug pull of all time, while demanding a congressional investigation. As we stand on the eve of tomorrow's White House Crypto Summit, his warnings about market manipulation seem increasingly prescient. Peter Schiff, welcome to Narativ.
Thanks, Zev, for having me on your podcast.
I'm really intrigued by this notion of a rug pull. I've never really heard of it before. Do you want to explain to people what a rug pull is? Because my audience may not be as in tune with your crypto lingo, as it were.
And what the concept is, somebody, promotes a new meme coin that they've created out of nothing and basically pumps it up to their community of followers. A bunch of people rush in to buy that newly minted meme coin, and then the creator dumps his coins on the market, and he basically pulls the rug out from under the followers who bought it, and the market collapses. He cashes out, and they get left holding the bag.
So it's like a classic pump and dump for a stock price, yes. Basically.
Donald Trump already did that with the Trump and Melania coins, right? They pulled the rug out from under all the people that bought those things, right? The price ran up to $70 within the first couple of hours from pennies. The last I looked at it was down around $12, $13.
Yeah.
They're worthless, but the people who promoted it cash in. They sell and they make a bunch of money off the suckers who get left holding the bag.
Let's talk a little bit about the Melania and Trump rug pull, because it certainly looks to me like there were 31 wallets that maybe gained $680 million out of that whole rug pull that involved the Trump meme coin and the Melania coin. On the other hand, there were $2.3 billion in losses associated with 810,000 wallets. And that's the ratio of these rug pulls. There's a few and a very few, in this case, only 31, which made a lot of money, and the rest are left holding the bag. That seems to be a pattern in the crypto world, in the Bitcoin world. Is it something that people should be really skeptical about getting involved in because of this kind of activity?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an old gambler saying, if you're playing poker and you don't know who the sucker is, it's you.
Yeah.
So you have to get in on these things right away, very early, and then you have to get out very early. That's the only way you can make money. You get in and out. There's a young kid in my neighborhood, a 21-year-old kid, who made $10 million on Melania coin and a Trump coin. And he just paid $2.1 million for a house, a 21-year-old kid. Yeah, so he's one of the few that was just watching it very closely and just bought and sold instantaneously. He probably didn't even hold for an hour and just was able to extract that money. But look, if they were doing this with securities, they'd be in jail. Right. But because these things are not securities, they just say they're collectibles. The pump and dump and insider trading or stock manipulation, none of that applies. You do whatever you want. The president of the United States is doing it. And again, he did it again last weekend with his Sunday Truth Social post.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because that was really a remarkable thing. He put out this particular post. It says that U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the president working group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes these coins, XRP, SOL, and ADA. I don't know what those are. I will make sure that the U.S. crypto is the capital of the world, and we are making America great again, which of course, this did a lot for the market. Immediately, we saw a huge increase in the price of Bitcoin. It looked a little like this.
Yeah.
But then tell me what happened afterwards.
Yeah. First of all, Donald Trump did not write that. I would bet almost anything that he had nothing to do with writing that post. Because first of all, his working group did not say to go forward with his reserve. That's a lie. It said to study the potential. So it's a misrepresentation of what the working group was asked to do. But also, I don't think there's any way that Donald Trump knows that ADA is the symbol for Cardano. There's just no way. I didn't even know that. I had to look it up, right? There's no way. And just the way it's written, somebody else wrote that and tried to make it sound as if Trump had written it. So I don't even know if the president knew that it was posted on his account. Now, the question is, who wrote it, and who did he tell about it, and when did he tell about it? Because my guess is that the people who knew this was coming knew maybe as early as Friday, because that's when Bitcoin kind of started to rally back from its big drop. I bet there were some insiders who were close to Trump, donors, people in his inner circle who planned that. They bought those three coins in particular. Because you'll notice the only coins that were mentioned didn't even mention Bitcoin, didn't even mention Ethereum, just mentioned Ripple, Cardano, and Solana, right? I bet they bought those three coins and waited, and then they put that post out Sunday afternoon, 1:00. Everybody is asleep in Asia. No stock markets are trading. Thinnest markets possible. Maximum impact on price. They timed that. They shot the price up. And then they started selling. And I bet they made hundreds of millions. Those three coins were up 30, 40, 50% initially. Of course, it was a rug pull. They all went down lower than they were before the post hit, after they finished dumping. But I want to know, and I think the American people should demand to know, who is using the president's Truth Social account to manipulate the market for those tokens, traded on inside information, and made a fortune. Now, maybe it's not illegal because they're not securities, but it's wrong. And the public has a right to know, for transparency, Who got rich off of this? And the president of the United States should disavow this kind of use of his accounts and people cashing in on his presidency. This is not the time when you're trying to root out government corruption to act this corrupt, when you're accusing people of using their position in Doge to enrich their families, and you're using the presidency to enrich your own or your other friends or donors. This is massive hypocrisy. And I'm embarrassed as an American that this is taking place.
Now, as you point out, this is not the first time in just a few months. We had the example we just spoke about, the meme coin example. But in fact, when he appointed David Sachs to the position of crypto czar, and he also appointed Atkins to the head of the SEC, there was also a massive rally on those announcements. And there's the same time that he announced his own investments in some of his own crypto ventures. So we had a real instance there where he was making announcements based on his presidential powers and appointing these officials who are going to be in charge of crypto. And he announced at the same time his own businesses, which are going to benefit from an increased crypto price.
There's a crypto summit in the White House happening tomorrow. And so they're pumping that up. But look, the last thing we need is for the U.S. government to get involved in the crypto industry. The U.S. government shouldn't get involved in any industry, let alone crypto. We want the free market to allocate capital. We don't want the government to pick winners and losers, to decide that the crypto industry is one that we need to support and then put public money into promoting the industry. We're supposed to be a capitalist economy, not a socialist economy. It's not central government planning. We want the market. So if people want to buy Bitcoin or any of these tokens, they can buy it. But the government shouldn't force taxpayers to buy it. Look, I don't want to buy any of these tokens. I got my own money. If I wanted to buy them, I'd buy them. I don't want my tax dollars used to buy these tokens. And the only people who benefit are the people who already own the tokens and who sell them to the government.
Tell me a little bit what happened. In the case of a crypto reserve, like explain to people who aren't familiar what a crypto reserve might do. What happens in that case? Do they take money out of the treasury and basically replace it with cryptocurrency as a reserve, or how does it work?
It's not really a reserve, because a reserve would imply that we might need those Bitcoin for something in the future. We don't need Bitcoin for anything now. So why are we going to need it? We have a reserve of oil because we may run out of oil. Maybe there'll be an embargo and we're out of it, right? You could have a reserve. Maybe you have a reserve of wheat in case there's a bad harvest and you don't want to starve to death. We're not going to run out of any of these cryptocurrencies. There's no need to hold them in reserve, because there's no point where the government's going to need them.
They have no benefit at all, really. When you think about it, these things are useless.
Yeah, the bill that Senator Loomis introduced, because she's been bought and paid for by crypto money, she says that she wants the government to buy 1 million Bitcoin and then not be able to sell any of them for 20 years. What good is a reserve that you can't tap into for 20 years, right? It's worthless. Even if there was something you could do with it, you can't even touch it for 20 years. All they want to do is reduce the supply of Bitcoin so that the price of Bitcoin will go up, so that people can sell it. And of course, the government is not price sensitive. If the government is required to buy Bitcoin, they have to pay whatever idiot price is there. So it's like, that's what the crypto people want. They're looking for a government bailout of their tokens, is what they want.
What you have is a pump and dump situation. Aren't you going to have a situation where they're going to spend the 20, whatever it is, to buy the 20, how much do you say, 20 million in crypto?
Buy 1 million.
1 million Bitcoin. They're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin, and then these prices are going to go way up, and then the market's going to crash, and we'll be holding it for 20 years.
Michael Saylor wants them to buy like 25% of the Bitcoin, of course, because he's leveraged to the hilt on the Bitcoin he's already bought. He's got 500,000 Bitcoin already that he borrowed $30-something billion to acquire. This whole thing is a Ponzi, a pyramid. It's a blockchain letter. It would be illegal if you actually did it in the real world, right? If I wrote a letter to you and I said, hey, send me $10 and then send this letter to somebody else and ask them to send you $10, we could go to jail. Right. That's illegal. But you put it on the blockchain and you can get away with whatever you want.
It's just still a crime to do what they're doing. They're conspiring, obviously, to steal money from average Americans.
Yeah, and they want the government to steal it for them. I mean, it's the ultimate rent-seeking behavior. Look, it's one thing if you want to gamble with your own money, but don't gamble with taxpayer money. Now, some of these guys like Loomis says, oh, it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything because the Fed is just going to print up the money and we'll use that new money to, so we're going to create more inflation to buy Bitcoin. Right? How is that going to benefit the public if we have to print money and then blow it on Bitcoin?
Can I talk to me a little bit about
look, this is all a payback for the campaign donations and the votes. It really is the worst element of democracy, right? This is the worst type of faction that has captured control of some politicians and is using their clout for their own gain at the expense of the broader country.
That's exactly the right segue for right now, because I do want to talk to you about Elon Musk and about he's pretty leveraged because he's got all these Bitcoins in his Tesla. He's got Tesla leveraged against X or Twitter. He's got SpaceX with tons of Bitcoin as well. He's got a Bitcoin empire. If this scheme doesn't work and crypto collapses, his entire industry collapses, the entire ecosystem collapses.
I don't think Tesla and SpaceX own that much Bitcoin.
They do actually. They own quite a fair amount.
I thought they bought it. They bought some at one time and then they sold most of it. I'm not sure how much they got left.
Okay, maybe. Sorry,
I remember they bought it. And for a while, they said they were going to accept Bitcoin in payment for their Teslas. And then they canceled it because they said it wasn't working.
I'll double check that. But that's interesting. I thought that Tesla did actually have still quite a bit.
No, they have some left. But
regardless, you've got Andreessen Horowitz, you've got David Sachs, you've got this entire ecosystem of venture capitalists from the Silicon Valley world who are very heavily involved in this idea of cryptocurrency in various businesses and various sectors. And they are all in the White House right now.
Yes, that's their last hope to save this dying industry, which isn't even an industry. It's a big scam masquerading as an industry. When Donald Trump says that he wants to make America the crypto capital, that's the last thing we'd want to be the capital of. It's a capital of a pyramid scheme. Why would we want to be the capital of that? The country that wins the crypto battle is the country that wastes the least amount of money on it. China outlawed it. They're going to be the winners. The more money that goes into crypto, the weaker the U.S. economy becomes because we divert money away from the industries that we really need. We just came out today again with the worst monthly trade deficit in our history. We need to build factories, not meme coins, right? Our resources need to go to making the things that we actually need, creating worthless tokens and gambling with them.
I should tell you that Tesla does actually have it had 1.5 billion. It's now increased by an additional $1.2 billion. So they've got 11,509 Bitcoins on their balance sheet, and it's almost doubled.
Did it go up because the price of Bitcoin went up or because they bought more?
It increased value. I think it's the value has gone up. So I think it's because
the price went up.
Yeah, and they drove it up.
I don't think they bought more.
No, I think they bought more. I think it started at 1.5 billion, and then it's increased significantly because they've just seen the price go up.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he bought more. And I think that when they bought those Bitcoin, it was a lot lower. I think maybe it was like 10,000 when Musk bought them. So
that's a significant amount of money sitting on your balance sheet.
I think they already sold enough Bitcoin to cover what they paid for them. So I think they're just gambling with the house's money. I don't think it's a meaningful amount on the balance sheet of Tesla. But
and you're right.
Remember, he got in the Dogecoin. That was his favorite, Doge, right? That's why they call it Doge. That's where the Department of Government Efficiency is based on that meme coin that he fell in love with.
Unbelievable. Now, tell me a little bit about these countries. We're talking about China not playing in the Bitcoin market, but Russia and Vladimir Putin have recently said that they're very interested in this market. They've opened up their markets to mining and other parts of cryptocurrency. This is a change for them, but it's also, as we look at these conversations and these allegations and these obvious policy alignments with Putin that Trump has, do you think that there's a bigger concern there that you got Putin on the one hand being quite in favor of jumping into this market and being a provider of Bitcoin because he wants to mine the stuff, and then Donald Trump creating the capital of the world, or the Bitcoin capital of the world, whatever he wants to call it?
Putin is too smart to want to buy Bitcoin or to encourage Russians to buy Bitcoin. They're buying gold. Sure, they have cheap energy in Russia. They probably are happy to mine Bitcoin and then sell them to idiot Americans who want to buy them. The best way to undermine the U.S. economy is to get us to buy